Frau Engel. She's been hunting for you. She's been moving heaven and earth, and today she found you.
You think your hero, William Joseph Bluscombe?
All right, it's time for part 2.
Day 2!
Our E3 2000. Well, technically it's part 2 because Microsoft started on day 2, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. It's whatever. It's day 2. It's part 2. It's year 2. It's the second. It's the sequel to the last podcast. It's E3 2007 wrap-up podcast time. You're on Rachel like Jeff.
I'm John, and I think you meant 2017, not 2007.
It's 2007. Don't you correct me. I've got my PlayStation 3. We're going to talk about all the brand new games. I hear there's a new Uncharted coming out. Oh,
Dear
shit.
God.
God, it's the same thing. It's been a decade, and it's the same goddamn thing. Oh, fuck. All right. Well, no, but we have 3 conferences to get through today, and boy, howdy, we're going to have to be running.
One of them is the best.
Pretty fast clip. Yeah, is it Bethesda?
No.
Oh, damn, because that's who we're starting with.
Okay, that's fine. I'm fine with that.
Bethesda kind of whiffed it a little bit this year, depending on... I mean, I was talking to you before we started this about how, like, this year's E3, we talked about this a little bit last time, has been a lot of, like, just shit we already know. Like, not a lot of big things.
Yeah. And, you know, it also didn't help that their probable, like, their biggest reveal got leaked.
Well,
like,
yeah. Because
Amazon couldn't fucking keep their finger off the goddamn publish button.
Yep. But let's talk about this conference. Right, so... If you want to start your E3 press conference in a way that makes Jeff punch his monitor a whole bunch of times, maybe you should start by hooking up all the developers' kids and asking them, "What does your mommy and daddy do?" And having
what
them
does your daddy do?
My mommy makes video. My daddy's a graphic designer. Oh, who could care? Who could even care? Like this, I don't know. It wasn't. I don't like children, so this wasn't charming to me. It was just like, please stop. Just stop. I will pay any amount of money that you want, Bethesda. Just stop having your kids talk about what their parents do, because I don't know. I'm probably overreacting a little bit, but I don't like it. I don't like kids.
I understand.
In fact, I'm
indifferent to them.
I felt like there was a kind of a huge tonal weirdness with Bethesda, because we go from this intro with all these little kids and this bullshit to this weird, like, oh, welcome to Bethesda Land, a theme park where all your dreams can come true. And then, like, all the different areas are part of Bethesda Land. And I don't know, like, do we live in a world where we need a framing device for E3 where the developer comes out and starts announcing a game, and you're like, wait, are we in like a theme park or like a
from what I understand, the location where they actually had the conference, like, they didn't have it inside of a building; it was actually outside.
Okay,
and apparently the area was set up like a theme park in the exact layout that this Bethesda Land animated picture is set up in, so that people could go play the different games that are announced or talked about in this video.
Okay.
Or in this conference.
I mean, yeah.
So all of that makes a little bit of sense if you're there.
Yeah. Yeah, but not so much. I don't know. It's not the worst thing.
It's a thing.
It's just it's added chaff that just kind of makes me go, oh, all right, okay, whatever. All right, so Bethesda kicked off this year, strangely enough, with full-on VR. We're talking about VR, and specifically we're talking about 2 products. Fallout 4 in VR, which was actually not really... We knew. Well, actually, we knew both
last
of
year.
these. Yeah, but
we hadn't seen anything about the Doom VR game. We knew that they were doing something,
right?
But we didn't know what they were doing.
But like last year, they had a whole like people in a Vive, like
last year for Fallout 4 VR, yeah, they totally had people in a Vive and everything, so
doing stuff, and that's cool. I actually. there's been some confusion. I actually looked this up on the Bethesda site, and you were right. This is only Vive. This is Vive only for Fallout 4. Fallout 4. And it looks like it's kind of a shame because, I mean, from what I can see here, it looks like you could play the entire game. Like it's just Fallout 4, but with some VR controls instead of the traditional controls. And I keep saying it. I guess I've stopped saying it a little bit, but like I feel like we need full on AAA VR games, just like a game that you can play from start to finish that is huge like this in VR.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a shame that it's only coming to Vive.
Yeah. I remember I read an interview, was reading an interview with one of the developers or whatever, and they were like, yeah, no, we would have wanted it to be on PSVR, but the PlayStation 4, even the PlayStation 4 Pro can't run Fallout 4 VR properly,
like hard enough.
Yeah, like there are slowdowns with just the regular PS4 version. So
yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't hate Fallout 4, but boy howdy, is it not really super well optimized.
Yeah.
Like it's a beast of a game that requires a beast of a system to play, and I can kind of understand that, even though again it's disappointing. I would hope that I don't know, maybe before you put it in VR, maybe spend a year like optimizing the engine a little bit harder so that you can put it on the PlayStation.
Having said that, the other VR game they showed, Doom VFR.
Yes. So this is actually a spin-off.
This is a completely side game. It is an original story. This is not, you're not playing Doom, you're just playing a Doom game.
Yeah.
That was specifically designed to work in VR.
Yep. Which again is a little disappointing, but I guess you know what, like there's just so many developers right now when we look at VR that, and I'll admit, like I've played both games with the controller and games with the wands on the PlayStation VR, as I'm sure you have as well. The wands, if you can get them to work, are a little bit more immersive because you're just looking at you're doing stuff with your arms, and it feels a little bit more natural. That being said, I'm still not convinced that if you just took Doom and let me play it with a controller but then look around with the headset at the same time, that wouldn't be a satisfactory VR experience that I would like to have. Yeah. But this looks like it's, it looks like it's an optimized, it looks like it's one of those, okay, you're teleporting and then you're shooting by aiming the gun with your hand, and like there's a kind of a tether mechanic.
Probably one hand remote control, one wand controls the teleporting portion and movement, and the other wand controls the gun. Yeah,
that's exactly what it looks like in this particular trailer. Which, I'll be honest, I mean, having, Man and I are playing Doom for Sequential Saturday, it's a real intense and fun game, so I'd be more than happy to give it a shot. The fact that it's on the PlayStation, they haven't really announced yet. Like on the PlayStation Store, it's listed as a pre-order for $30.
Yeah,
that's fine. I guess I just kind of hoped that, having been a person who purchased a retail copy of Doom, that I would get some kind of discount.
I'm sure if it was a situation where where the game was just a port of Doom, then yeah, you'd be getting that. But because this is a separate game, that's why you're gonna have to pay full price.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I mean, but even $30 isn't even that's not even a deal breaker. Like, Eve Valkyrie is $60, and I have yet to make that plunge because I'm just not sure if I think that Eve Valkyrie is worth $60.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I bought Static the other day for $20 because it was $20, right? Like, it's not a huge investment.
Which I've heard that's a really good game.
It's interesting. It's real interesting. We'll have to do a thing on it at some point. Anyway, so yeah, VR is happening. We'll talk about
Doom VFR is going to be on PS4.
Yep.
Fallout 4 VR is not.
Yep. Doom VFR is also going to be on the Vive. What's strange though is that neither one of them has specifically announced for Oculus.
Yeah,
I feel like I keep looking at some of this stuff and I keep going like, I think Oculus is kind of getting stomped right now by Vive.
I feel like, so from what I understand, Oculus did something that kind of turned a lot of developers off.
I remember that. It was some kind of like third-party agreement, like with it was an exclusivity deal, if I remember correctly. They wanted it that if your game was on Oculus, it was only on Oculus and I think not on the Vive.
That in turn made people go, well, I'm going to go to Vive, fuck you.
Yeah.
And so
But I don't know. It's nice to see them branching out. Both of these are coming. One is October, and I think that Fallout is October. Oh, no, hold on. I don't
think they actually said the exact dates, but they did say that they were coming out before the end of the year.
Yeah, they'll be out this year. I can find the dates while we're looking at it.
There's even another thing that was announced at another conference we'll get to, and then that I think is also coming out this year as well.
All three of those VR experiences are coming out this year.
Which we'll talk about that one. For those that know, we'll talk about that one later when we get to that.
Doom VFR doesn't have a release date, but except for 2017, Fallout 4 VR is October, specifically of 2017. Okay, so next up on the conference, we had...
Elder Scrolls Online,
Morrowind, and just a bunch of people watching the trailer, and this is one of those things where that game's already out, but they want to push it anyway.
Well, yeah, because they want people to play it.
Yeah. Also, then after that was something that was really strange. This is called Creation Club. And, okay, so. I actually went and read up on this because I wanted to be very clear about what this is. So at first glance, what this looks like is they're talking about the modding community, and then they're talking about this new thing called Bethesda Creation Club, where Bethesda and then specific Bethesda third-party people will be making essentially mods or further content. Like they have a crab and some armor from Skyrim, right? And these will be paid. Now, this will not touch the mod scene. So the player-made mods will not ever be paid for because they already tried that bullshit, right? And it went all fucking terrible on them. But this, I feel like, is kind of an interesting concept because it allows Bethesda specifically, and then specifically Bethesda curated other companies to make content, to make mod content of a quality that they feel you would actually purchase with, it's like you're going to have to buy dumb in-game credits or something like that. But I don't know. I mean, you could definitely make the argument that this stuff should all be this should be free DLC or paid DLC, and that by putting tiny amounts of DLC on the mod store, that's kind of a scumbaggy double dippy move by Bethesda. But I don't know, the mod scene for both Fallout and Skyrim, and I feel like it's really done a lot for those two games over the years to keep the longevity going. So I don't know. What do you think about this?
I don't use mods, so I have no opinion. That's the sad part about it. Is I really
would you use a mod that was made by the company?
It depends.
What it was. I mean, in this trailer,
if it was just it's a costume pack for your character and give them a new costume. No,
in here we saw some cosmetic stuff. It mostly seemed like it was all cosmetic stuff. But I mean, I know that people in the mod community for Fallout 4 have made whole quest lines for Fallout 4. I actually watched this weird guy on YouTube who does nothing but review giant crazy Fallout 4 mods, and but yeah, so here we actually have, there's a picture of a store here where we have, a bow in Skyrim, crab armor in Skyrim, survival mode in Skyrim, and something like a gray cowl. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I guess the real question is, how much do the credits cost? What's the average cost to buy one of these things? Because if it's $5 for 300 credits, then no. But if it's, you dump in $10 and get a shitload of credits and go play around in Skyrim.
Yeah, if it's $10, you get 10,000 credits or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
probably somewhere in the middle there, but that's going to be happening summer of 2017,
which is this year.
Yeah. Next up, we have the Elder Scrolls Legends.
A lot of people like to shit on this. I actually play this game still.
Yeah,
it's fun. I am a little disappointed that the first expansion they released, you could buy it with in-game currency, and then the expansion after that you couldn't.
Oh, okay.
You had to pay money for it.
Yeah.
And I think this one that they're talking about here in this trailer,
it's Heroes of Skyrim. Yeah.
Also is a paid-for expansion.
Okay.
So I'm a little annoyed that they made this big push of hey, you can get these expansions with in-game currency. Well, the first one, everything else you have to pay for.
But the base game is free to play, though.
Yeah,
right?
The base game is free to play.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't really play CCGs. When we played Elder Scrolls Legends, it seemed like a fine game.
Yeah, no, it was a fun game. Like that was like our playthrough on Super Awesome Video Game Show was the reason I downloaded it when it became available on iOS. And
yeah,
I've been playing. I play it on my tablet every now and then.
Yeah,
it's a fun little game.
I feel like the problem that there's nothing entirely wrong with this. It's just that when we look at like we go rewind a little bit and look at what like the show started. We had kids. We had Bethesda Land. We had VR for games that already are out. We had Morrowind, a game that's already out, and then we had Creation Club, which looked like paid mod support to a lot of people, and then we had Elder Scrolls Legends. Is that like so far we've just had a lot of stuff that we already know about from Bethesda?
Yeah, it's stuff that's already been released. Yeah.
So I feel like there was a lot of frustration in this particular conference with this, and it's not really going to stop because after this we got something that I'm excited about, but I understand why people would roll their eyes, and that is that we officially got confirmation that Skyrim is going to be out on the Nintendo Switch.
Yes, and they even showed that if you get an amiibo, like a Zelda amiibo, and you put it up to the thing, you can unlock...
It's the Breath of the Wild one.
Yeah, the Breath of the Wild. You get the unlock the exact links, the Master Sword, the shield,
tunic.
And I even apparently the developers hinted that other amiibos from Smash Brothers may also unlock stuff.
Okay,
but they're not saying which ones or if for sure. Other than it's possible that other amiibo could also unlock stuff.
I really hate the fact that I'm going to buy this because it will mark the 4th time in my life that I've purchased Skyrim for full price because I bought it on the PS3 and I bought it on the PC and I bought it on the PS4 and now I'm going to buy it on the goddamn Nintendo Switch. But on the other hand, Skyrim on the Switch, there's a certain level of game where it's like that's a no-brainer to me because you can just fucking play Skyrim whenever the hell you want.
That's what you wanted.
That's what I want. I want to be able to take a game. I want to be able to take a game like this that has a huge amount of longevity that you could just play for fucking ever and just take it out. I would only be happier if it was Dark Souls. That would be the only thing to make me happier is if they put out Dark Souls 1 on the Switch.
Okay.
Which they will never do. But
you don't know that.
That's true. I don't know that.
They could totally surprise you.
Now, there does appear to be some motion controls, which I hope that you can turn off.
Yeah.
You can use the individual little Joy-Cons to, pull back and shoot an arrow, which even in this demonstration is kind of awkward looking because the person's trying to pull and draw an arrow with their two hands while not obscuring the screen that's sitting on a desk in front of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's I'm happy that that's been confirmed because it was a thing that was shown, but the tricky thing was that nobody ever actually announced that was happening. And if I'm not mistaken, that's also coming. Do we have a release date on that yet? I think that's just holiday this year. All of this stuff is coming out this year, it looks like.
I mean, that's kind of been the thing that most of the publishers and most of the press conferences have been this is all mostly going to be stuff that's out this year.
Yeah.
They've been really, all of them kind of really push that.
Yeah. Next up, we finally got what I would consider to be brand new content, and that is the DLC for Dishonored 2, Death of the Outsider. And I got to tell you, if you want to get me all hyped up, John, all you got to do is play some fucking pirate music. I don't care if it is a little kid singing pirate shanties. I'm down.
Yeah, again, this year, it's the year of the pirates.
Yep. This is Billy, who was the ship captain in Dishonored 2, but instead of having no eye and no arm, she's got a weird bionic eye and a weird clockwork zappy zap arm, and she's teaming up with Dowd, who was apparently the guy in the first game that killed the princess. It's been so long since I played the first Dishonored.
I never played either Dishonored game, so.
And they're going to go kill the Outsider, the Satan character from Dishonored.
Oh, okay.
Which is cool. I mean, I've heard that. I never played it, but I heard that the Witches of Dunwall or whatever that was.
Yeah.
Was really excellent DLC for the first Dishonored, so hopefully they'll be doing this. Seeing as this is a cinematic trailer, I feel like we didn't really get that much information outside of what I've just said, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to be playing as Billy. She's going to have powers that are based mostly on this arm and eye thing, and
comes out September 15th.
Yep. I don't know. I do... I can't even remember if I finished Dishonored 2, to be honest.
I never played.
I think I did. I can't remember. It didn't leave a huge-ass mark on me. Speaking of things that didn't leave a huge mark on me, how about Quake?
Yeah, Quake Champions. They talked about it. We played it. Apparently they announced an open beta.
Isn't it already an open?
No, it's closed right now.
Oh, okay. How did we get in? Oh, never mind.
Well, it's closed in that only a select number of people get access to it, but you can stream it. But it's going to go into open beta, meaning you just install it and start playing.
This trailer makes me think that this is probably not a game that I'm going to be able to play. Like the people describing, I mean, even when we were playing it, though, I got the impression this is not going to be a game that I'm going to be able to play very well because it's just fucking twitchy.
But they added some new characters though, like BJ Blazkowicz.
Yeah, I think that's the only person they added, and it seems like he can dual wield any of the weapons. That's kind of his thing. That's cool. I mean, if you're into Quake, that's great. I do feel that Quake has broken Bethesda's streak of bringing back old id games with a revamped single-player and multiplayer campaign that I'm interested in. Well, I guess Wolfenstein didn't have multiplayer, but I don't know. Wolfenstein and Doom were just such like surprise, like, oh my god, this is such a great game, and I'm a little bit upset that Quake isn't going to have some kind of single-player aspect to it. Yeah. Because I think the Quake campaign would do good. I mean, it's different than, like, it would be an interesting place to make a new single-player campaign, but I also
How
can't...
is the story of Quake different than Doom?
Doom takes place on Mars. Quake takes place in, like, weird Cthulhu Shoggoth hell.
Okay.
Doom takes place in, like, Christian demon horns hell, I think.
Oh.
I don't even know if the main character of Quake has any kind of backstory. But you have an axe in Quake, and you have a chainsaw in Doom, so there's a difference.
I'm just saying, they're very similar games.
One is a nail gun, the other one's a chain gun. These are vastly different experiences. I don't know. I really like the way that Bethesda was taking these old games and revamping them.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they did very well. So I'm a little bit, I don't know. I just don't really have a whole hell of a lot of interest in Quake. You said that you might be playing it.
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay.
And then they went to, hey, here's some stuff that we're working on.
Yeah. This is so. Outside of Dishonored 2, everything else that we've seen has been some iteration on an older game or whatever. And then we've got 2 sequels, and then we're done. And the first one is The Evil Within 2.
Yeah.
Which is... I actually watched some trailers. So the trailer that they showed here, all they did was show this trailer, and it was largely incomprehensible if it's...
It's just a bunch of spooky stuff.
I can't even... I'm sure there's stuff that's in there that people who really were fans of Evil Within knew. I got to tell you, the story of Evil Within 1 just kind of like... whoosh, just kind of slipped off me like rain off of a duck's back. Now, what's interesting is they actually put together 2 trailers that I watched before we got started here that came out after this conference. One of them specifically being a story trailer and one of them specifically being a gameplay trailer. And those 2 trailers work a lot better because the story trailer actually explains that the main character, whose name fucking totally escapes me, it's something like Joel or Bill or Bobby Sue or something like that. His daughter, he thought in the first game that his daughter was dead, and it turns out that she's not, and that she's been put into... Because in the first game, you spent a lot of time inside the mind of a crazy serial killer guy, trying to figure stuff out, and then like fighting the demons in his head through this technology that this shadowy corporation... Oh my god, I remember way more of this than I remember. This shadowy corporation put together, and there was like this woman there, and it turns out that she was actually like a U.S. agent and not like a rookie cop like you thought, because you got pulled in because you were this grizzled detective. And in this one, it turns out that your daughter is still alive and that they've used her to create a new kind of nightmare brainscape, and so the main character is now rescuing his daughter in traditional video game format. Let's see. Sebastian, that's his name. Sebastian Castellanos. The actual gameplay parts that they show in here seem pretty cool. I hope that the game isn't... I had some difficulty with the difficulty of The Evil Within. Like, I felt that it was making me play a little too conservatively, a little bit too much conservative survival horror, and not enough like kind of enjoying just what was going on.
Okay.
I don't know. This trailer has some really interesting visuals in it.
Yeah, I will say, after watching this trailer, I was like, "Whew, I really need to go back and play Evil Within 2." Evil Within 1.
I also heard that the DLC was really good for it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I've still got it. Like I can see it from where I'm sitting.
Yeah, no, I got it as part of like one of those Target buy 2 get 1 free.
Yeah.
Like I bought like 2 other games and I was like, Evil Within's fine. Let's grab that as the 3rd game that I get for free.
Yeah.
And then I never played it.
I don't know.
Like maybe, I've never done that with a video game before.
I've been thinking that I need to go back and replay the game on easy, because I just don't think that I'm as interested in the challenge of the combat in that game as I am in, say, like Resident Evil 4. I felt like had a great like difficulty curve, but in this one I just felt like I was getting too hammered too often. So
yeah.
And then last but not least, probably the thing that I was most excited about, we got to watch this kind of crazy, this little girl, and she's buying groceries. It's like this old TV-looking filter, and like she's just walking home, and then like there's a truck, and it's falling on a guy, and she takes her whistle out, and she's like, Lisa! And this giant fucking Nazi...
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a Lassie kind of thing.
Yeah, robot dog comes like bounding over, and like, oh shit, Wolfenstein. And I like these little TV shows. I specifically like, there was one that was a game show called German or Else.
Yeah.
And I want to know what does that mean? Like, what is the point of that show? Is it like, do you want German? And you're like, no. And you're like, bang, 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 bang. Like, I don't know.
But it's America's favorite game show.
Yeah, apparently. There's also kind of like a Nazi cartoon and like a little Aryan action figure guy. So, yeah, this is the 60s. This is a sequel to Wolfenstein. BJ Blazkowicz apparently is woken back up. Like I thought he got killed at the end of the last one.
At the end of the last movie, he's severely disfigured. Or the last game, he was severely disfigured. Like, it was insinuated that he died.
Yeah.
Clearly, he's not dead.
Right, yeah, spoiler alert for the end of Wolfenstein.
Clearly, he's not dead, but he's really fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, in this, you can tell, like, he's got scars all over his body. He can't walk in the first part of it. Like, he tries to walk and he just falls down.
Yeah.
There's even parts of the trailer where it looks like it's him in a wheelchair.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like the resistance has gotten him back up, and now we're doing another kind of like liberating Americana.
The previous game was in Europe, and this game takes place in America.
Oh, okay.
This time,
there
so this is a German occupied America.
Yeah, and it looks cool. It looks like Wolfenstein. I'm having a little bit of a hard time getting like completely psychotically excited about it, because even though I really liked Wolfenstein, I liked the Old Blood. It's kind of like,
I will say it's weird that there's they kind of throw in that very Tarantino moment that you're seeing on the trailer right now, where the German guy walks up, orders a milkshake, and starts talking to you.
Yeah,
it's just very Inglourious Bastards inspired.
There's actually, I was playing through the Old Blood, and there's a part like that at the beginning of the Old Blood where you're trying to get into the facility, and this big guy comes up, and it's said that BJ Blazkowicz doesn't speak very good German, and he pulls up your fake papers, and he's like, you're from Frankfurt. He's like, what, say something. And BJ Blazkowicz is like, I am a Frankfurter. And then they're like, Frankfurter. And he's like, yes, a real hot dog. I don't know. The games have this kind of weird, goofy, kind of throwback humor in them. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. This looks great. Like, I like the idea of taking it to America. There's this whole, I don't know if this whole like helmet that telescopes out around his head was in the last game. I don't think it was.
I don't think he wore it. I think it was worn by a different character.
Okay.
That was a battle suit that a different character wore.
And then I really like this kind of the 60s freedom fighting lady that they've got going on here. I don't know. And then at the very end, I really like this scene where he's just sitting in this guy's like conspiracy theory rambling at them, and it kind of just looks like they're sitting in a bar, but then as they pan around, it turns out there's like somebody shooting out a window and somebody's shooting back through the window.
Yeah, like I kept waiting for the guy to get sniped.
There's also a guy just playing like a clarinet over there, and so yeah, I don't know. I'll be more than happy to play.
Yeah, I will say I'm interested because I actually paid attention to the trailer. So like you see BJ Blazkowicz in 3 separate modes, I guess you could say. There's the first where he's really fucked up and he has to be in a wheelchair, and then like there's the later where he has that suit, that exosuit on.
Yeah.
And then there's towards the end of the trailer, there's another one where he's wearing just normal clothes, he's walking around, it's very clear he doesn't need anything. But if you notice, he has this weird ring around his neck.
Yeah.
Some people are thinking that the exosuit is from the first game and it was apparently worn by a character who was paralyzed and allowed that character to move. So a lot of people are basically saying that BJ Blazkowicz is actually paralyzed at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
And so he wears the exosuit so he can move around. And then at some point he has a head transplant. And his head is on a different body.
Okay, I'm all right.
And
with
part
that.
of that is supported by at the very beginning of the of this whole thing. There's changing the channels on the TV is this weird cat head on a monkey body.
Yeah, okay.
Like it's changing the channel.
Okay.
So a lot of people are taking context because he goes, oh shit, he gets his head put on a different body at some point.
That's cool. That's great. The action trailer kind of here at the end, we're just showing a lot of kind of crazy ass guns and like violence and people getting blown the fuck up.
I'm on board.
Yeah, I'll play it.
This made me want to go back and replay Wolfenstein.
Yeah, this is Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. This
comes out October 27th.
Yep. Oh yeah, and then at the very end here, we've got a guy who's basically tripping on acid, who sees a little lizard, like a little psychedelic lizard running around. I don't know why you would take acid before you kill.
Well, I also love the fact that I don't know if you noticed the lady who's stabbing the guy multiple times in the groin area is pregnant.
Oh yeah. I think she's the nurse, right?
Yeah, no, she is. But it's just, there's just that aspect of there's this woman who's pregnant walking around. She knocks over a Nazi and starts stabbing him multiple times in the groin area.
Yep. Yeah.
This is how crazy this game is.
You gotta stab a Nazi in the groin, man. You don't want him to reproduce. And you know what? That was it.
Yeah.
That was all there was. And so, Evil Within 2. I'm not the biggest. I wasn't the biggest fan of the first one, but the trailer looked good, and Wolfenstein 2, the trailer looked good. I'm interested in the VR. It's just there was nothing huge. There was nothing gargantuan. There was no game changing big fat like. Guess what? There's a new blah blah blah.
Like I said, I feel like the Wolfenstein announcement would have made a bigger impact if it hadn't been spoiled by Amazon.
It also might have made a bigger impact if it had been first. If we hadn't spent the entire show seeing like. Look, I'm not stupid. I know that VR does not apply to everybody. There are plenty of people who don't give a shit about VR or who are actively hostile towards it.
They're not like us.
Or who don't want it, right? No, you can say it as much as you want to. They're just uninterested. So starting your show with a tech that a lot of people are just like, oh, fuck this. And then moving from that into games that we already know are out, platforms that the Switch is still hard to find, right? Like,
I've looked it up, and GameStop doesn't even sell them on their website. Like and it doesn't even give you a tell of what stores have it. Like they just say, oh, you have to call the store to see if they have a Switch.
So what, a 10-year-old game for a platform that nobody can get? You've got VR tech, and then you've got Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind, which is already out, which people already, or at least hardcore gamers already know about. You got Elder Scrolls Legends, which, is a card game that doesn't appeal to everybody. Like, there was just a lot to get through to get to anything new. We already knew that Quake existed. So, it wasn't until we got to the last of it, or no, I guess the Dishonored 2 DLC.
Yeah.
But again, that's DLC. It's not exactly like the biggest announcement in the world. It's really those last two things. I feel like they should have started with Evil Within and then ended with Wolfenstein. Would have at least hyped people, bring people up a little bit before you get into the other stuff that's going on.
I get that. I do think that, I like I said, I am interested because Evil Within is one of those games that I own that I keep. Like I said, I've for whatever reason, it's the only game I've ever bought that I've never actually played. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those games that every time I'm reminded that the game exists, I'm reminded that I own it and that I have never played it and that I need to play it.
Yeah.
And then I never go play it.
Yeah.
But this might actually convince me to do it.
Okay.
Like this might actually okay, well, there's a sequel coming out. I need to fucking the sequel. I need to, and Wolfenstein, I'm ecstatic for. So
Yeah.
So,
it's interesting because let's think of there was no DLC for Prey announced, which would have been kind of interesting. I maintained a fake hope that we were going to see a new Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah. A lot of people did,
but
apparently, I don't know. There was an article that was on like a bunch of different websites. And all I read was the title. I never read what it was, but apparently there was actually a reason why there was no Elder Scrolls.
Well, in the chat, somebody was telling me that the guy who's I forget what is it Todd Howard or whoever, who was like the head dev on Fallout 4 and Skyrim, and has been kind of one of the heads of that particular branch of Bethesda's game development, is working on like an unannounced new IP. So again, before the show started, it was like, oh, do you think we'll get a new Elder Scrolls? And they were like, no. Todd Howard's working on a new sci-fi IP. And it was like, ooh, okay, well, I'll be interested to see what that is. Didn't see it. So
yeah, it's not. Yeah.
So yeah, I just feel like there wasn't a lot. I mean, some people in the comment section or in the chat were hoping for Fallout New Vegas 2.
Yeah,
and
for some fucking weird reason.
Look, I'm not trying to shit on New Vegas all over again. Everybody knows that I don't like that game. But on the other hand, like Obsidian is working on Stick of Truth, and they're just churning out those like Pillars of Eternity and Tyranny. And I mean, this week there's a DLC for Tyranny, so that obviously I don't feel like they're working on a huge amount of different projects. They're trying to keep it small enough that like they don't spin out of control. All right, well, I tell you what, before we take a break, there was another press conference.
Yes, there was.
It's John's favorite press conference.
Oh, my God, it was so great.
I'm going to let John tell you people all about the Devolver Digital E3 2017 press conference.
This was I think they only announced like 2 games during the entire thing, and even then, it wasn't announced. They were just trailers for games that were already announced.
Yep, they had a trailer for Ruiner, which is a top-down kind of sci-fi Hotline Miami meets Diablo,
and then a
thing.
Trailer for a Serious Sam top-down
kind of
Twin
like Kari Warriors, looking thing.
But this entire thing was Devolver Digital making fun of E3 press conferences.
Yeah,
like this is all it was. It was just them taking a giant pot shot. Like it started off with like a bunch of like journalists or YouTube celebrities like, Devolver Digital, they suck, man, they got I guess they're big enough to have a thing, and then they have all
this like stock footage of crowds that they use the entire time. There's not an actual crowd there. And then I don't know who this lady is.
She's an actress, but yeah, she's like the Devolver Digital VP of like Synergy or something like that, and like it's fucking hilarious. Like they do this thing where they have the crowd clapping for way too long and cheering. So she pulls out a gun and shoots it in the air and just like, "You're journalists, stop cheering.
Yeah.
Do your damn job."
Yeah. I think that my favorite part of this particular... Okay, so I'm going to tell you right now. It was kind of difficult for me because I wasn't watching Twitch, and this didn't air on IGN, that Twitch was doing some batshit craziness before this started.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure what I thought that the Twitch hosts were technically the beginning of the Devolver thing.
Yeah, so did I. I did too.
But yeah, it's
the Twitch was doing their pre-show or whatever is what it's called.
Yeah. They also had my favorite part of this entire thing was they brought Suda51 in via remote, and he's like, "Hi everybody, I'm wait, what is this again? Devolver Digital? Who the fuck is Devolver Digital? I'm not making a game for why am I on this TV?
No, shut the camera off.
Shut off.
I didn't agree to this.
Shut off. Yeah. That was the best part to me of the entire thing, because it was just like they managed to get Suda51 to basically come do a joke for them.
Yeah. Oh, and Suda51 probably, they asked him and he was like, "Oh fuck yeah, I'll do that."
Yeah. Their quote announcements, there was a lot of like some of the parody stuff was you can now throw money directly at your monitor and they'll get it.
Yeah, I love the comment that they made where the guy was like, "Oftentimes at these conferences, we hear the words, 'I'm literally throwing money at my screen.' When we hear that, we're excited. But when we check our bank accounts, they're still empty.
Yeah.
We're not seeing that money."
Yeah.
And then they're like, "So we've created a new technology that basically to allow people to throw money at the screen, and then like they get a guy from the crowd to start throwing money at the screen, and then at one point he tries to get the money back, and it
chops his hand off." Yeah, man, Ruiner looks good. Sorry, I'm just watching the trailer for Ruiner. I really can't wait to play this game.
Yeah, but it was just batshit crazy, stupid shit.
Yeah,
it was them. Like I said, it was them kind of taking a pot shot at.
Well, yeah, they had what games that change based on your YouTube comments.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Not only is there early access, but now they have such early access that all a developer has to do is think of a game and it appears available to purchase immediately.
Yeah. And then at the end, the host lady basically just starts talking.
Also, I love that every time she repeated a word in a speech that she was giving at one point.
Yeah.
It literally changed the angle of the camera every time she said a specific word.
Yeah.
And she said the word like 12 times in one sentence.
Yeah.
And then like it just started like quickly changing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It was just
Serious Sam's Bogus Detour is the name.
Seriously, if you haven't watched this, it's on Devolver Digital's YouTube. It's also probably in a bunch of other places. I highly recommend watching it because it's funny.
15 minutes.
It's 15 minutes long.
It's not a real conference. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like some people are going to some people are going to not like it, but that's all because it's just, people on YouTube don't like say, "Oh, did you try to be funny? Fuck you." So
I thought it was funny. I hope that this becomes like a yearly thing for them. But if it doesn't, I'm okay with that too.
I want to get in touch with them and produce it next year. They're out of Austin.
I if anything, I want to get in touch with Twitch and be like, fuck your pre-show people.
Yeah. That was so weird because then, from there, like it went back to the Twitch pre-show, and that was weird because then they had somebody bring like this weird procedurally generated version of Hotline Miami that was technically could generate levels that were impossible to actually beat, and then like this weird 4-player frog game.
Frog Fighters.
The host kept throwing macaroni at people. And then it just got. Then I just started drinking, and it got weirder from there.
Here's the funny thing. So you made a comment in the chat that the host of it was like, "Oh, this guy's just acting like he's drunk." No, that's actually how he is regularly because he also was doing their daytime stuff like at the convention, and that's legitimately how he acts, like just normal.
Oh, he wasn't even pretending to be drunk; he was just being himself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's just like the dude just comes off like a.
I hate the Twitch hosts. Yeah. I'm just going to say that right now. I hate like 90% of the people who host E3.
Yeah.
We talked about this yesterday at EA, but like as much as a lot of times the awkward developers or awkward the people involved with the game or actors or whatever come out. Over the years, I think that only fucking there's been like 2 or 3 people. The old Giant Bomb guys, right? And then Jeff Keighley and like there was the other guy that used to do. Who's the guy that hosts like the Spike TV Game Awards? Is that Jeff Keighley?
That's Jeff Keighley.
Who's the other guy who had the soapbox?
Adam Sessler? Sessler and Morgan Webb?
Yeah.
Who were completely absent this year.
Yeah. Like, so that small list is like the people that I can watch host E3 without wanting to fucking gouge my eyes out because everybody else is just like, whoa, I just can't wait for blah, blah, blah. And it's like, God damn. Some of the IGN hosts are just goddamn insufferable. But anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to kick this shit into high gear because it was the PC Game Conference. It was huge. Stay tuned.
Long before we met, you lost your daughter, Lily. She's still alive. This is your chance to save her. To get back what you lost. Lily needs you. You're gonna need to go back into STEM. Again.
And we are back! And it's time. Time for the PC press conference.
Can I preface this with something?
Sure.
I completely missed this.
Okay.
I was actually helping a friend build some shelving units and desks and stuff for a move, and
what?
I didn't realize it started at noon.
What, you were doing things in real life and you were watching a...
Well, I thought everything was in the evening. And so, like, and then, like, we were out doing stuff, and I'm like, oh. Like, I even missed part of the Ubisoft. Like, I had to go back and watch some of it.
Yeah.
Which
you were at work that day. I mean, that's...
No. I wasn't at work at that day.
Well, God damn it, John.
I was helping this friend do this thing.
Okay.
And so, like, so I completely missed this. Like, I've seen some of the trailers, but not all. So you're going to be doing most of the talking.
Yeah.
I will give my opinions when I have them.
Okay. Well, this is a long one, and we're going to go at a pretty fast clip because even though there's a lot of stuff they talked about, I feel like so a couple things. This show was more of a traditional E3 press briefing in that they would show a trailer for a game, and then they would have the developers come out, and then the host, who's this guy Sean, who's the
the guy that's been hosting the last couple of years?
Door 9 or whatever his name is. Who's the guy who's been hosting? He's all right. He's kind of like, he doesn't try to make too many jokes, and he's...
I think the first year he was bad.
He was real because it was like a talk show the first year. And this one, it's more of a traditional briefing. One of the big changes that you're going to see is that last year this was hosted by AMD, and this year it's hosted by Intel. I feel like they need a better... I don't know. I feel like the PC press conference needs like some kind of greater organization to put them together, because it's not like PC has like a grand wizard at the top. Just make Gabe Newell do it. PC fucking master race people, just get Gavin to come out and fucking bankroll your shit with all of his Dota money, and then you just have it every year, and you don't have to worry about, because I'm gonna a spoiler alert. There's a place in the middle of this press conference where this Intel guy comes out and basically gives a PowerPoint presentation for about 15 to 20 minutes, and it's just like, I'm not even going to talk about it because it was just blah blah synergy, blah blah cores, blah blah teraflops, blah 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 blah, just like, but. The first thing that they showed, so the conference kicked off, and the first thing was they had this bullshit, they do this bullshit PC fetishization thing where they're just like, you're a PC gamer, you built your own PC with your hands, and it's a personal thing to you. You've got pride in and it's like, oh, fuck off. Like, you built a computer. I know how hard it is to build a computer. It ain't that fucking hard to build a computer. So quit getting up on your high horse that you slotted a memory card into a motherboard, snapped it into a case that was already ready to go, and fucking plugged in some memory. Like,
also, wasn't it last year that they actually had a PC building tournament or contest? One of the people had never built a computer before, and like came in like second place.
Yeah, like it's not that hard.
And
also,
it was done in like, they built it in like really like
Also, remember last year how they also had that like showcase showdown, like Steam, like you've got 2 minutes to buy whatever you want to on Steam, and it was just like, what are you doing? This is stupid. Anyway, I'm not going to complain too much. This was an okay conference. Like, there again, there was some interesting stuff going on in here. A lot of it we already knew about, but there were a few announcements that I felt like were pretty cool. They kicked it off basically with the trailer for this XCOM 2 expansion called War of the Chosen. Now, this actually seems really interesting to me because XCOM, like base XCOM 2, I didn't care a huge amount for, but I feel like I might need to go back and check it out again. But what I will say is that like original XCOM Enemy Unknown was really good, but when they added that DLC, like when you went to go buy like the Game of the Year edition that had
Enemy
like,
Within DLC,
that had like the mechs and the psychic powers and like all this different, like the robots and all this different stuff. That shit was great. Like, it, by the time if you got the full edition that had all the DLC, it was a really, really solid package that was super fun. So there's a few things that are going on in here. First off, they show in this trailer the Chosen, who are these 3 alien, like they're hybrids that have been developed specifically to go hunt down XCOM, and there are 3 of them. One is a stealth melee character, one is a sniper, and one is a warlock. And basically, they're going to be like kind of these boss characters that are going to show up multiple times during the campaign in the expansion to harass you. If I remember
correctly, what I heard is that they've been sent to Earth specifically to destroy XCOM.
Yes.
And have been told that whichever one of them succeeds in destroying XCOM gets Earth, essentially.
Okay. I didn't know that part. But that seems pretty cool. There's also... some new factions. There's 3 new factions. The Reapers, who seem to just be kind of like independent mercenaries. The Skirmishers, we're looking at one of them on screen right now, who are alien, like they're like alien hybrid defectors who have left the aliens and are now kind of fighting on their own. And then the Templars, who are basically like psychics that developed in the wild that aren't part of any organization, who have these really like powerful psychic powers. Also in maps you're going to see the Lost, which is basically just zombies.
Yeah.
That in areas where the invasion happened and XCOM never cleared it out in the first game, there are parts of the populace that were transformed into kind of these like mutants, and they never really got taken care of. And so apparently, I'm not really super hip to this idea. Like if you're in a map and you're in a thing and you make too much noise, you'll basically like pull them. They'll just start coming in infinite waves at you. But all in all, you know, the graphics and the stuff, this looks good. Like I don't know, XCOM. I don't go back and play XCOM 2, but like I said, the DLC for XCOM 1 was really fantastic, and this looks like it's got as high production values. And I feel like unless you're the biggest fan of XCOM, like I don't feel like this is going to get you into it. But I feel like in a year or so, this is going to end up being, there's going to be a complete edition that's on sale for like $20, and that'll be well worth your time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, yeah. From there, we introduced there was a lot of interviewing with the guy. I mean, you know, a lot of this stuff we're going to kind of just not going to go into the super nitty-gritty specifics of it because it goes on for so long. From there, we meet our second host, Sonia Reed, who is OMG, it's Firefox or something like that. I don't really understand all that. And from there, we got a trailer for Ooblets, which we already knew about, but is it's created by another company, but I think Double Fine is publishing it.
So it's published by Double Fine. It's being it's Gumberland is the name of the team, the publisher or the developer.
Yeah,
and it's a 2-person team. It's a guy and a girl. They're making this game with it's just them, nobody else.
Yeah,
and Double Fine is publishing it, and it looks kind of like a Animal Crossing meets Pokemon. Hybrid
meets Harvest Moon is kind of what I got out of it. So there's like it's a very charming art style, and you've got the Ooblets are like your little Pokemon, and then you've got a house that you can, you know, decorate, and then you're going to take your little Ooblets out, and you're going to fight with them, and I don't know, it looks really charming.
It looks adorable.
And that's PC and Xbox One in 2018. We actually already talked about when the first trailer for this dropped.
Yeah,
but I don't know, looks fine. From there, we actually got a really interesting announcement of BattleTech, which it's been a long time since there's been a BattleTech game. Now,
well, this one was kickstarted.
Oh, okay. Well, this is Harebrained Schemes, the guys who do Shadowrun Returns, and there was another game that they did that I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, but this one was also kickstarted.
Is BattleTech and MechWarrior the same thing, or are those two different things? Is MechWarrior inside of the BattleTech universe?
So, if I remember correctly, I think originally they were two separate things, and then I think they both got bought by the same company.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% sure on that, so for people who are, you know, more familiar with BattleTech and MechWarrior, maybe you could answer that. But if I'm not mistaken, I think that they were originally two separate things that had the same idea.
I know that BattleTech had you got in the pods, right? And you can do the whole, like... Yeah. So this is going to be like a tactical strategy game, kind of like XCOM or Shadowrun, where there's going to be a single-player skirmish mode, multiplayer skirmish mode, and then what they call an open-ended mercenary campaign. And they actually talk about what that's going to be is that you can play through, there's a story campaign, and then when you get done, you can just kind of continue to take the Radiant quests that they're putting into the game. It's very much top down. There was an old PC game I feel like called like Mech Commander or something like that was very similar to this, but it's going to be like for anybody who's never played a BattleTech game. They actually make a really good point of saying in the trailer that, or in the development interview that. You know, this isn't like, what does he say? This isn't just a meat sack with hit points, right? That like all the mechs have like each individual leg and arm and whatever have their own kind of set of hit points, and they can be targeted at will. There's a lot of like heat management, weight management, like using the terrain, facing and that kind of stuff. I'll be honest, this looks really good. Like from what I'm seeing of this trailer, it looks It looks real solid. It looks like a solid ass. It actually looks like Harebrained Schemes have stepped their game up a little bit because Shadowrun, I don't know. I never got back into playing some of the later Shadowruns, but like the first one was pretty short. You were able to get through it pretty quickly, but this one looks pretty cool. I don't know. I'm a sucker for a giant robot, so you get a bunch of giant robots that are blasting lasers at each other, and I'm more than happy to check that out. Apparently, the single player campaign has something to do with like a monarchy, like a queen or something that's got kicked out of her house, and then your mercenary squad is going to be like kind of trying to reinstate her. I don't know. Seems cool. I'll definitely give it a shot when it comes out. Next up, we see a trailer for Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord, which is completely inscrutable to me. I don't really play Mountain Blade.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this. I couldn't say anything.
I mean, the trailer is just like a bunch of guys on horses riding around, like shooting at each other and throwing like spears and shooting arrows and doing stuff. Like these guys seem like they're Mongols. Some of these guys seem like they're like medieval knights. I've never really played Mountain Blade. I can say that it seems very sparse when I look at the screen. Like there's not a lot of UI, but I don't know. I mean, if people are into that, I don't know. Maybe they're into that. Next up, they talked a little bit with one of the devs about Total Warhammer 2, which seems like it's going to be kind of interesting. There was actually one thing that I thought was really, really fascinating, and they were talking about that once that game gets out, they're going to have a patch that will combine Total War Warhammer 1 and Total War Warhammer 2 to let you kind of do like skirmish stuff on the entire map of both games.
Oh.
So it'll like integrate the last game into it, which I think is a really fascinating concept for an RTS, of giving it the ability to bring what you previously purchased in as a value add into the sequel is kind of a cool thing. I think it'd be interesting to see more companies do that. It's just kind of too bad for me that I just don't really have all that much interest in Warhammer or in the medieval Warhammer. They showed there's going to be 4 new factions, the High Elves, Dark Elves, the Lizard Men, and then one that they're not talking about. It's coming out September 28th. They showed a little bit of a demo of the Lizard Men. I think that Matt Frank needs to look at that because the Lizard Men are apparently like little lizard guys that ride around dinosaurs that also have like Aztec lasers on top of them, which seems like the kind of ridiculousness that you would get out of a Warhammer game. Yeah. It's just, I don't want to move giant chunks of people in sweeping flanking formations to that's just kind of where, I don't know, maybe Total War Warhammer isn't like that, but just not a big thing, not a big draw for me. Next up, John, you like the card games. You just said you like to play the
I do
card games. So we had a card game here called Shadowverse.
Okay.
And this started with a kind of I don't like to it started off by, as we've talked about, like having a YouTube personality, this guy Kriparian or something like that, talking about how excited he was about this expansion for this card game. This card game looks a lot like Hearthstone.
Yeah, I think I actually do know what the game this is, and yeah, it's totally a Hearthstone kind of. I think I have played this.
Yeah, it looks like Hearthstone, and then later the expansion is called Wonderland Dreams, and they have a trailer for it, and it seems like Hearthstone, but with like a lot of anime boobage happening in it, like just a lot of scantily clad.
And their next expansion is called Seriously Guys, We're Not Hearthstone.
I actually kind of reminds me. This trailer reminds me a little bit of Vanillaware, right? With the kind of like real high the moving high end like HD anime style graphics, but I can say that I don't really know anything about this.
I don't know.
Next was the time when that Intel guy came out and talked about gigaflops for like 20 minutes, and
huzzah!
They also talked about Destiny 2 and how Destiny 2 is going to run. It'll be the greatest game to ever run on your PC. It's on the PC now, you guys. I think that there was a guy. I think this Intel guy was like, "Oh yeah, with all this new Intel hardware, Destiny will run at like 160 frames per second." And I was just like, Can your eye see 160 frames per second?
No.
Like, is that what's the upper end of what your eye can detect as a difference in frame rate? Because I don't know that I think that's too high, which starts to make me wonder whether this whole like I understand unlocked frame rate, but on the other hand, there's going to be a point where it doesn't do anything anymore, and you have to wonder like once we get over this certain frame rate, does it really matter? Actually, there was some Oculus stuff here because they talked about Lost Echo, which I guess is going to be an Oculus game, which means that I probably won't ever play it because I don't have one. So, yeah, this just went... I'm sorry, I'm just trying to fast forward through this YouTube videos. It just went on and on and on and on and on. Okay. Next, we talked... There was a trailer for something that I actually think looks really, really fantastic. So, I know that I can be a little bit dismissive sometimes on some of this PC stuff because it's just not games that really super appeal to me. But this is a game called Tunic that just recently had a name change.
Yeah.
And this is a little foxy... like
isometric.
Isometric, yeah. Fox character. Looks kind of Zelda-y, but then it has a combat system that I don't know, but it kind of looks a little Dark Souls-y.
Everything looks Dark Souls-y to you.
I'm not just saying that. The people were saying that in the chat. Like when he's fighting these, there's a lot of emphasis on kind of like dodging and then on like blocking and counterattacking. There isn't any HUD here, so I can't tell if there's like a stamina bar. It could just be a dodging and blocking and attacking game, right, with no stamina bar. But if it is a top-down Zelda with Dark Souls mechanics with a charming art style, hey man, I am 100% down with that. I am ready, steady go. So I don't know. What do you think about
Looks cool.
that?
Looks cute. Looks good. Like I like what I saw.
Yeah. Next up, we talked with PlayerUnknown about PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds for quite a while. And it's funny because they actually had a lot to talk about with what's coming to PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds.
Like vaulting?
Yeah, specifically vaulting like up onto stuff. So now waist-high fences are not the
mortal enemy of
of people. You can vault and you can climb. There's going to be a bunch of new like kind of weather conditions that you can be added to the game where it's like rainy or foggy or like like sunset is a new thing. They talked about a new weapon that they're adding, the little bullpup gun in the 7.62 category. He did very briefly mention that after they finally go like full-on release, that he does want there to be the ability of people to mod PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, which is really interesting because PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds is like a full version of a mod.
Yeah, well, yeah, it started off as the idea of, or at least he started off as an Arma modder and then made this.
Yeah, there are 2 new maps that they're making, which is cool. One's like seems like it's more of an arid map. I don't remember what the other one is. They said that they're trying to do a lot of stability and performance fixes on their servers to make sure there isn't as much dropping and that people are able to stay on. It's kind of interesting to actually see the game running like in the videos that they're doing here at real high quality because everybody that I've ever seen play PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds plays it at like super low because it's very rough right now. And then the last thing that I thought was really interesting was he was talking about in-game replays, specifically with the ability to take a match and then like go back in and replay it and set up a camera and edit stuff. And he actually mentioned specifically like using it for a machinima, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Also, for the number of people playing this online, like I would love to play PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds until I get a full-on win and then go back into my replay and like put together a little storyline, right, of me going up and cut out all the chaff and stuff like that. So I feel like that'll be a pretty cool thing. After that, we talked to I think this is the only guy that's ever been at every single PC gaming E3 show.
Yeah,
the developer for Tripwire.
Okay.
Which they actually put out Rising Storm 2, which was a Vietnam multiplayer game, but this is the company that does Killing Floor.
Okay.
So they talked very briefly about the VR Oculus game that they announced last year, Killing Floor Incursion. Not much outside of just we're still working on it. And then what their kind of big thing was they talked about the Killing Floor 2 Summer Sideshow content that's coming. That's kind of like this weird zombie circus thing that has like carnival games and like enemies that are specifically geared to a kind of a carnival freak show / just straight up carnival like aesthetic. And apparently this was one of those like launching today, or like you can start playing it today. So I guess I should have.
Did he pull out his phone and hit the button?
No, he didn't do that this time.
And then when they're like, "Wow, some people are like that actually launched," he's like, "No, it's just a thing."
This is actually
for dramatic effect.
This is actually a pretty good trailer because there's a narrator that's talking about like, "Oh, this summer you're going to be doing all this stuff," and as the trailer keeps going on, he starts getting more and more. He's like, "Also, was that guy have a monkey head?" And he's like, "Wait, what is this? No, this isn't right. What is that? Is that person on fire? Wait, what are you doing?" And so it's pretty cool. I just don't really like Killing Floor 2 is just again one of those things where in a world of infinite time, I can see where I might play it, but I have other stuff that is kind of ahead of it, and this content is not enough to make me just go reinstall the game and start playing it. Actually, we are rolling through here quite a bit faster than I thought, John.
Good.
So next up, Microsoft came out, as I think they did last year, to talk about two things, Forza Motorsport and Sea of Thieves on Windows 10.
Okay.
With Forza, they talked about how they've got like every controller that's ever been made. Like they've tested it to work with Forza. They said they had a day when they asked all their staff to bring in every controller they had. They tried it with a Guitar Hero controller and like a DDR pad and stuff like that. They also talked about, again, the thing to flog in the PC show, which I just don't feel is a thing that is really... I mean, I know it's important to people, but I don't think it's a thing to waste so much time on. It's like, oh man, and the frame rate's super high. Like in Sea of Thieves... the guy was like, yeah, you can run it in like 4:3 or 16:9, and then he had something like he said something crazy like or 32:9, and I was like, what? And it turns out that there's just Samsung and a few other places make this like gigantic monitor where the resolution is like 6,000 by 1,200 or whatever, and that's a little ridiculous. I don't know. It just seems like a very it's a curved. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, no, it's a curved monitor. It's weird.
Yeah. So that's that. And that was Microsoft's time. Actually, that's not true. Microsoft will come back at the end of the show, but they're not there just yet. Next up, they talked about. Man, I feel like this one's going to end up being a lot shorter than yesterday's, just because. So many of these things, there's just not a shitload to talk about with them. Like they were just kind of announcements. So next up, they brought out the guy who's making that Last Night game that we saw at the Xbox conference, and he talked a little bit about it. He kind of compared it to Oddworld. He had some interesting details about the game, about how like, let's say that you need to get a thing out of a house. Like, you can do it during the nighttime when there's nobody there, but then you might have to deal with cops that show up. But if you do it during the daytime, there's going to be, like, one person who lives there. Then you're going to have to deal with them. And he also talked about, like, if the cops come, you can, like, go lay down in a pile of garbage and put your gun away. And then, like, they'll think you're a hobo or stuff like that. So it seems like they've got a really kind of dynamic world, and that it's kind of an adventure game with some combat elements in it. Outside of that, I mean, we talked a little bit about the controversy with this guy yesterday. He apologized on stage. It didn't seem like he was super emphatic about it, but given the fact that he was talking about his game on an E3 conference, I don't know. Still looks great. I mean, still looks like it's got a really fantastic art style, and I really like the way that it looks. It's just interesting how somewhat like three-dimensional it's able to look, even though everything is pixelated.
But I think it is three-dimensional.
What do you mean?
Like, I think it's not pixels, they're cubes.
Oh, maybe that's why I've been so confused about this. Okay. So it's like kind of like Fez then, or like...
Yeah, it's basically, it's faking the look of pixels. It's three-dimensional, but it's like everything's just made with cubes.
Interesting. That is really interesting. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I don't know. I'm still kind of excited about this. Again, we have to weigh in below about your own personal feelings about this guy and his politics, but but the footage that we've seen so far, to me at least, looks really cool. Next, we saw a game called God, I can't remember what you just watched the trailer for this.
Did I?
It's called Islands.
Yeah,
but it's like with a Y.
Yeah,
and this is from Bohemia.
Yeah,
so
Bohemia Interactive,
the Arma guys, basically. This one is really exciting to me because it looks kind of like Minecraft, except that they're using like angled polygons instead of just squares everywhere. You get a character kind of stuck in a world, and then you can, kind of chop down trees, make your own stuff. But then towards the end of the trailer, this character makes a boat and kind of goes out and goes to other lands. And they show, everything from like knights to riding horses to car racing,
cowboys and Indians, car racing, knights, an adventure game where people have to like flip switches to unlock puzzles, and people being shot out in catapults, and it's like I'm looking at it going, I thought this was like one of those weird survival games, and then it's apparently every game.
Yeah. It also, it definitely shows later on that it has a build component. One of the interesting things that when the developer was talking to them is that apparently the tools that they use to like create content for the game are the same tools that the players are going to have inside of the game, so that you can like open up. You can actually go one step deeper and open up, say, like the trees in this world, and then change them around, and then it'll be reflected in the actual game world. So it's like kind of taking it a step further. What it reminds me of is Lego Worlds.
Okay,
yeah, except without Legos. Like
without that weird save game glitch that happened.
What happened to?
Basically Lego World where it would erase your game.
Oh. Well, that
yeah.
sucks.
Apparently, it's going to be fixed with the next update. And the next update's a little ways off.
Oh, geez. I hope so. I don't know. The actual game, the actual kind of world development stuff looks like it's a lot more in depth. I just have to wonder whether there's going to be like a single player story, or whether this is going to be another like do whatever you want with your friends, make your own story, ladies and gentlemen.
I think from what I've gathered from what I've been reading about it is that there is the single player story mode, which is you're trapped on an island,
right,
and you have to survive, and you can do whatever you want on that island. You can create a house, or you can try to create a boat and get off the island.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the multiplayer, which then allows you to basically play whatever game you fucking want in multiplayer.
Okay.
Like you can play where your adventure spelunking in a cave and solving puzzles, or you can be in a like an early car race thing, or you can do this other these other like a knights storming the castle kind of scenario.
Okay. I don't know. The thing that always is going to make a difference in this in a game like this to me is how easy the build tools are to use.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the reasons why Minecraft is so well received, is because it's so easy to just stack up a bunch of blocks and do whatever you want to.
Yeah. And this is going into early access later this year?
Yes. You can actually play it, though, right now. If you go to Bohemia's website, if you go to Yland, or Islands with a Y instead of an I.
Yeah, Ylands.
.com, you can actually give them $10 and start playing it right now. You can give them $10 directly. It's basically early access, but it's just not on Steam just yet. Which, if it wasn't for the fact that you and I are recording 6 million podcasts this week, we'd probably play in that for the Super Awesome Video Game Show. All right, next up, we had a truly... one of the things that I'm more excited about than anything else.
From Clay.
Fucking Clay is just putting out games, motherfucker. Like, what, Oxygen Not Included, Don't Starve last year? Like, just keep making stuff. But this one I'm really interested in because Clay's been sticking to this weird kind of like Don't Starve aesthetic. Like, Oxygen Not Included reminds me a lot of Don't Starve. It's not as Burton-y, but it still is just, these little kind of cardboard cutout people. This reminds me more of like Mark of the Ninja or like Shank, because the characters are big and they're detailed. And even though they're using the kind of cutout animation, it's not... It looks better than what I see in that other stuff. And this is... did we say what the name of this was? Yeah?
No.
This is Griftlands. And this looks like it's going to be kind of wandering around in this kind of weird futuristic environment, but it's also kind of like medieval, like getting together a party. And then the actual combat of it looks like it's going to be kind of Final Fantasy style, where you have
turn-based.
3 people on one side and 3 people on the other side, and they're all kind of hitting each other. But I don't know. I really, really dig the aesthetic to this. Like, I love the way it looks. It seems like the sort of thing that, if done right, could be really right up my alley.
Yeah. And Clay's been doing a lot of right. Like, even with games that we haven't really expected to like, we've like they've been like, oh, this is not really my type of game, but this is actually pretty good. You know,
I think that what I'm the thing that I'm really most interested in is the fact that the last two games, and especially like I feel like Clay spent so long concentrating on Don't Starve, like expanding it and then having Don't Starve together.
Yeah.
And that Don't Starve and Oxygen Not Included are very just kind of open-ended survival games, whereas I'm looking forward to another game that has like a fucking story to it, as opposed to survive, prosper in the wild, which is not to say those games are terrible. It's just, I want more. I want more out of my games. I want more narrative. Next up, we took a little bit of a look at Lone Echo. I feel like we might have actually seen this before, but this is the game where it's like there's a single player and a multiplayer, and in the single player you're commanding a mech, and you're using it uses the Oculus controllers to have virtual robot arms, and then you're in 0G and you use those arms to move by grabbing stuff and then pulling yourself forward and backwards.
This is a VR game.
It's a VR game, yeah. There's also a multiplayer component, which they showed a little bit of people, kind of in a 4-on-4 jumping around in a 0G environment, and it reminds me of Ender's Game a little bit.
Oh yeah. I can kind of see that.
This one isn't terrifically interesting. I don't know. I guess I'd be more interested in it if I had a way to play it. But since it's Oculus, it'll probably be Oculus only, and see whatever. Next up, Cliffy B came out to talk a little bit about Lawbreakers.
Dude McLarge huge.
Yep. Brand new trailer for Lawbreakers. Well, actually, it's not super brand new. There was a lot of people, celebrity testimony, YouTube people just like, woo, and and fucking I love Lawbreakers. It's so fast.
They never got in contact with us, huh?
Apparently not.
Sad. Missing out.
They're going into open beta June 30th.
Yeah.
They announced a release date, August 8th. And as John pointed out, Cliffy just threw a little shade at Overwatch and Battlefront of being like,
we don't feel like you should pay $60 for a game that's only multiplayer. So this game will release at $30.
Yeah, I think his literal words were $29.99. None of that $60 multiplayer only bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't know. The closer we get to Lawbreakers, the more I'm thinking that Lawbreakers might be kind of like Quake, a little bit too fast and technical and PC, Quake Arena style.
I'm looking forward to playing on PS4.
Oh, that's true. It is coming out on the PS4 as well. So yeah, I'll be interested in playing it there. Where I'll just go play around in the baby pool with all of my console noobs, and you PC master races can master all of Lawbreakers. Wow, we're getting pretty close to the end here. So next up, we had this is actually something that was really interesting. So Chucklefish came out and showed a game called Wargroove. Did you actually see this? Okay, so Chucklefish is the Stardew Valley folks.
Okay.
And Wargroove, this is like a tactical... It looks so much like Advance Wars that it's not even funny. Like it's a tactical... a game where you got these little pixel guys and they run forward and attack people, and in a kind of a medieval setting, right? It looks really nice.
Yeah.
Now the thing that was really interesting that they showed was that apparently they brought their dev tools with them, and this is going to be included within the game, is that you can create your own game in the game. And it's powerful enough that you could even do things like create a branching scenario where, that's what they're showing right now, is that, okay, you're going to go from this bottom place to a middle area, and then depending on a trigger that you can put in the game, it'll take you to one place or another place, or it'll unlock another place. And then what was even more interesting was they kind of went into this area, and just while they were kind of talking about the way that the game works, one of their developers just kind of really quickly put together a little map that you could play on. So it seems like really simple to just create your own content with. And that's cool. I like the tactical RPG genre.
Yeah, me too.
this is pretty nifty, and that within the span of just like a couple of minutes, she puts together what looks like a map that you would see in like a Fire Emblem game or something like that. So I don't know. This one is interesting to me. I just can't say how much I dig the aesthetic. Like it's the pixel art on it is real top notch, and it's bringing back like Advance Wars / Shining Force flashbacks. Yeah, which I love those games.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know. Is there any? I don't know. Is there any of this that? Do you really play, you don't really play those types of games, do you? Do you play?
I play tactics and tactic style games. Like I played Advance Wars back in the day.
Okay.
I mean, it just depends. Yeah.
How about a new Advance Wars, Nintendo? God damn it! Or wait, did they announce new Advance Wars? I haven't watched their conference yet.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I feel like I would have heard about that.
Yeah.
From there, we have two more things, and then we're done. First up, they showed. This was kind of a weird thing. One of the devs from Shadow of War came out and showed off their first DLC before the game is even out.
Weird.
So they talked about like they were going to live stream it a bunch of times, and then when they basically showed a cutscene where what's his name? Who's the main guy? Not Tyrion. It's something like that. The main character in
I don't
Shadow
know.
or in Dawn of War is interacting with this woman called Eltariel, who is like an assassin that works for Galadriel, who's been sent to like find out whether they need to kill this guy and get the ring off of him or whether he can be trusted. And it's a really nice looking cutscene. It's very well developed. I just find it a little strange that they're showing single player DLC before the game is even out. Like they're previewing the DLC before the game is out. Like if you're that far along, why don't you show me more Bruce, man?
Yeah, we need more Bruce.
Need more Bruce in my life. But I don't know. She seems like an interesting character. She was in the trailer, right? For the story trailer for it. I don't know. Maybe this will be launch DLC or some bullshit like that. Looks good. Yeah. As everything I've seen about this game so far, no part of it has looked bad. And last but certainly not least, we got an announcement. Our last announcement from Microsoft, and that is just make the drum roll, please. Age of Empires Definitive Edition. Fart noise. I don't know.
I see you're excited about this, Jeff.
I don't like Age of Empires.
Okay.
I can't really stand it. Like it's always just been kind of as an RTS, it's always just kind of been a mess. But hey, if you like Age of Empires, you're getting fully remastered, 4K. The units have been redone. You can zoom way the fuck out. Apparently, they've redone like some of the control options that were necessary. Like apparently, there wasn't an idle villager button. They talk a little bit about that. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. It looks real nice. It's just that I don't know. This game was always like super chaotic. Did you ever play Age of Empires?
A long time ago.
Yeah. I don't know.
I have no desire to go back to it, though. So
okay, fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. It always just seemed like there were way too many units for me. I even tried playing the Galactic Battlegrounds or whatever, the Star Wars RTS that was made by the same people.
Yeah.
And it always just seemed like there was like 5 different resources that you had to gather, and it was just like, oh my god, fucking yeesh. And that was it.
What?
PC Gaming.
That was PC Gaming?
That was PC Gaming.
Okay.
So, there were some things in there. I feel like the things that I was most excited about were XCOM 2, BattleTech, the Tunic, and probably Griftlands, and then the Battle Groove, or whatever it was, War Groove. So, there was... I don't know if I needed an hour and 45-minute conference for this. Like, it does make me kind of appreciate the Microsoft and Sony. Like, we're just going to get up and just start fucking throwing trailers at you, and nobody's going to come out and talk about the trailers. Just a trailer. Here's a trailer, and be done. I mean, the Bethesda conference, I downloaded it, was like 35 minutes, and we covered it in 35 minutes, and this is like an hour and 45 minutes. So fucking long. I don't know. Did anything stand out to you from this conference?
I mean, the new Ooblets trailer was fun. It was cute, adorable. I showed it to Amanda, and she's like, "I want this game." You know, so it's first of all, she saw the Double Fine logo, didn't even see the game. She's like, "I want this game. It's Double Fine."
Sure.
But then she saw the game, and she's like, "Oh, this game looks adorable. I want it."
Yeah.
You know,
I need to tell her about the new game that I saw that Double Fine's putting out. That I was watching on one of the streams today, called Knights and Bikes.
Oh, I haven't heard about this.
Co-op, 2 little girls riding their bikes around, having adventures and stuff.
I want to know more about this game. Like, yeah, like I didn't watch any streams today because I was at work, and like you didn't have the streams playing on the site, so you know.
Yeah, I got up at like 3:00 in the afternoon, so it was a long day yesterday.
Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, you know, like you said, Griftlands looked really cool. I like that. You know, there was some interesting stuff. Like you pretty much mentioned most of the interesting stuff that was on it. Like,
let me ask you a weird question. I feel like this isn't a type of E3 that we engage in, but do you think that this was better than Bethesda's conference? Which one do you think left you with a better impression? Because this one was longer and had more kind of just stuff.
The thing is, you also got to remember, I didn't watch this.
Oh, well, that's true.
I didn't watch the PC one. The first time I'm seeing anything really is you showing it to me right now.
Okay.
Outside of a few trailers that I happened to watch ahead of time.
Yeah. I kind of feel like both of these were like the weakest of the conferences.
I can agree with you on that.
You know. Say what you will, whether you're a fan of Microsoft or not, they had a shitload of games.
I would probably also put EA, Bethesda, and PC were probably the 3 weakest.
EA's weird because I feel like EA was vanilla as fuck, but I always expect half of EA's conference to be sports games anyway.
Yeah.
And I really did like that way out or way back or
way out.
Way home or whatever.
It's a way out.
So, and Need for Speed. So, yeah. Well, that's it for part 2, day 2, the sequel to the second one. The next podcast, we'll be looking at Ubisoft and Sony.
Yeah.
And the last one, we'll be looking at Nintendo and then any additional pickup trailers that we didn't get a chance to talk about. Because, Square didn't have one. Activision didn't have one, but they never have one.
They never have one.
Konami hasn't had one in a long time, and they don't have any fucking thing to show anyway.
There's some weird stuff going on with Konami.
Like what?
Well, it's just there's more stuff that's come out about the whole Kojima thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's like the drama there just doesn't fucking stop.
Nice. I ought to go read that. Yeah. So, join us back here for the next one. Actually, I really want to say, if you've gotten all the way to the end of this, be sure to come back for the next one because Ubisoft and Sony were some interesting...
Yeah, we'll actually have some fun stuff to talk about there.
Nutty shit in there. So let us know down in the comments below what you thought. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
So it is true.
You killed me.
And yet you live. What is that like? To die and live again? Do you feel pain?